to do is listen to the sander as the wood's going across it, and as soon as you can hear the sander actually sanding the wood all the way across, that means you've got a good flat piece of wood. If there's any bow or waves in the wood, you're not going to hear it sanding all the way across. So a few more passes will flatten it out, and you'll have a nice flat clean surface. And again, you could work this all the way through the grits until you got it done. This little box you see sitting here on top of the SandFlee is the eye socket auto switch. And what it allows you to do is to plug any two devices in, one generally being a dust extractor, or in this case I got it plugged into a shop vac, and the other switch is for the tool that you want to start along with the shop vac. Then you just simply plug this into the wall, and when you turn on the SandFlee, it will automatically detect that device has been turned on and turn on the shop vac. And that's why you saw that as soon as I hit the switch on the SandFlee, the shop vac came on. One nice feature of this is that the shop vac will continue to run for 5 or 10 seconds after you turn power off to the device. Lets it go ahead and clean up that extra little bit of sawdust that's floating around in there. You can purchase the eye socket auto switch from Woodcraft, and I'll put a link in the blog post where you can pick this up at. Okay, a couple of issues with the SandFlee that I've run into over time that I've slowly been able to eliminate some of and not others. One is, like I talked about earlier, if you do not get the height of this drum set right, the SandFlee is not a good tool to use. It just makes a mess of everything. So it's very, very important to learn to do that adjustment. As you push the wood across, if it's too high, the piece will rock back and forth, and when you pick it up, you'll see scallops all across the wood where it sanded little divots into it that are really hard to get out. So learn the adjustment, learn to get it right. Another thing that will happen if it's too high is, and I don't know how well you can see this, but where the seams of the sandpaper are, it'll rip out chunks of the sandpaper, and eventually you'll have to throw this piece away and get another one. Again, the better you get it adjusted, the less likely this is to happen. And in this case, I threw one in here just to show you what I have done in the past, and that's ruined some of it. So again, the adjustment makes a lot of difference. As these pieces are torn off, you can actually take a pair of scissors or something and cut the little flaps off and keep using the paper, because the fact that as it rotates, the seam moves across. You can see that the seam actually moves from there. You know, it's moving across, so there's sandpaper in contact with your wood that's not ripped. So it'll work up until it gets torn too bad. So that's something to keep in mind. The other thing that will happen if you've got this too high, that I ran into a few times, is when the lead edge of the piece of wood makes contact with the top of this drum. If it's too high, it'll tend to want to kick it back like this. And it kind of scared me a couple times the first time it did it. And it'll also rip the paper just the same. So it all comes back to getting the height of this drum right. And you want to learn to get it right. And again, the only thing you want contacting the wood is the grit. And honestly, right now I've got this one a little too high. So I'll have to go back in and readjust it. So the adjustment is one thing I'm not real crazy about because it is so critical. The good news is they've got this micro adjusting knob on the side, which really helps. I think originally the SandFlee did not have this knob, and you actually had to hold this up and hold the lifting plate here and lower it real slow and then tighten them down when you got it there. And I guess that was a little tougher, so they added this knob onto the side, and so far I'm real happy with that. Okay, do I like this tool? Yes, I do. As I said earlier, I use this tool almost every day in my shop. I use it for finish sanding. I don't use it for jointing, like they say on their website you can do. Although I think it will do that, it's not nearly as efficient as the joiner I already have, so I just use that. I do use it as a finish sander, and I will use it even more once I get the keyless chuck for the power drive on the side, because I'll be installing my sanding mop on it, which I use multiple times a day in my shop. So with those two tools combined, I'll be using this even more. The tool at Woodcraft sells for $399.99 for the 9-inch model. So it's a fairly expensive purchase, so you really have to consider the value of the tool for what you do. If you're a scroll sawer and you do a lot of intricate fretwork, this tool will definitely allow you to sand that fretwork after you take it off the scroll saw with the least chance of tearing up your fretwork. Once you've spent an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours working on that fretwork, the last thing you want to do is break it when you're sanding. And at an upright sander, you're much more likely to break the piece than you are at this, assuming you have it adjusted right. Now, it took me a few months to convince myself that I like this tool. It's a different kind of tool. It's a tool like I've never used before. It's not a thickness sander, so you don't want to think of it that way. It is a finish sander. So that's a little different, and when I first got it, I was thinking about it kind of as a thickness sander, even though I knew that's not what it was really for. And it took me a while to learn and understand the adjustment, but once I got that all down, I've been real pleased with this tool since then. Adding the auto switch for the dust collection was a big deal. Building this little push block really helped a lot. It gave me a lot of control of the piece as I was pushing it through there, and it kept my hands away from the sanding drum as it was going across. And even though if you put your hand down on here, it won't hurt you, if you get your hand caught between the drum and the plate, it might. So I was pretty wary of that when I first started using it. So the push block has really helped a lot. My optional fence that I built has worked okay, but again, I do want to buy and I do have it ordered, the fence that comes with it. So I would say, just to finish up on this review, I'm real pleased with my purchase. If I were to lose this one, or for some reason something would happen to it, I would buy it again. And I think that says a lot, because if you go out and repurchase a tool, you know it's worth what you paid for it the first time. I've had a lot of people email me and tell me that they don't see the point of the SandFlee because they can build their own drum sander cheaper, and that's debatable. You probably can. There's a kit out there where you can build something like this, but I generally don't like building tools. I like to buy them, and I'm willing to spend a little extra money just to have it already ready to go as soon as I take it out of the box. So that's what I think of the 9-inch portable drum sander, the SandFlee from RJR Studios. And I hope you like this review, and I'll see you next time here at the Scroll Saw Workshop.